A lot of the times whenever you buy these PlayStation 2 memory cards, they're gonna have the old save files on them. There wasn't really an easy way to clear out all the save files besides plugging it in and deleting them one by one. You know the minimum wage GameStop employee is not doing that whenever you trade them in. And I don't blame him, why would he? So we're gonna go check out some of these memory cards, see what kind of games people were playing and show some gameplay and give a little bit of a background on what each game is. Just a quick disclaimer before we get into the video here. I am not the first one to do this. Mystic has a great series where he goes through used memory cards and then finishes their save files. And I'm a huge fan. So when you go watch his video, go tell him I sent you and let him know that we could be best friends. I just know it. I was actually pretty worried I was gonna get a bunch of memory cards that didn't have anything on them. So this is good. I love how the PS2 save files all have their own unique 3D model. It's really, really cool. I wish they still did that. All right, our oldest save files from March of 2000. I was less than a year old at this point. I was still shitting in diapers and drooling all over myself. But this guy was playing Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, so that's pretty cool. I'm sure most of you guys don't need a history lesson on Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. Obviously, it's become one of the most popular franchises in gaming history. But the original Tony Hawk's Pro Skater was released in 1999 for the PlayStation 1. It featured some game modes that we'd see throughout the rest of the series, like career mode and free play. It's easy to see why this game was so important. It laid all the groundwork for all the following games. Pretty much all the entries in the series released to critical acclaim, except for the Game Boy version. I don't know why the f they even made that. Next, we got Star Wars The Force Unleashed. That's a pretty cool one. I remember the second game being pretty good. I never really played the first one, I don't think. Star Wars The Force Unleashed released to mixed reviews. There is plenty of praise for its story, its amazing voice acting, and the soundtrack, but its technical issues and linear gameplay kind of detracted from the positives in some critics' eyes. Nonetheless, it proved to be one of the most popular Star Wars games of all time, selling over 7 million copies. The story bridges the gap between the two movie trilogies, giving the fans some world building that they really, really wanted. The game did receive a sequel that released 2 years later in 2010, but the series wouldn't see a proper conclusion. A third installment was planned, but subsequently canned by Disney once they acquired Lucasfilms in 2012. As a result, the Force Unleashed story became part of the non-canonical Star Wars Expanded Universe and never received a proper ending. Next, we got Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks. I've never really been into the fighting games, but I feel like Shaolin Monks is probably one of the ones that I would like. It's a little bit different than the normal Mortal Kombat games. Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks was a spin-off of the Mortal Kombat franchise, released in 2005 for the PlayStation 2 and the original Xbox. It's a retelling of the events of Mortal Kombat 2. Players control the Shaolin Monks Liu Kang and Kung Lao in either single-player or cooperative play. The game received pretty positive reviews for transitioning the series into an adventure game, and players really loved the co-op mode. Some people weren't thrilled about the narrative and the new direction that the game went in, but it was still a commercial success. It sold over 1 million copies. And personally, I'm not a huge fan of fighting games, but I feel like Shaolin Monks would be something that I could get into. We got a save file for episode 3, and this jumps to 2013 when this was made. That's a little bit more my time. I remember I had this game on the Game Boy, and I didn't even know that there was a version of it on the PS2, which I'm sure was much, much better than the one I played. Star Wars Episode 3 was released on every platform. That includes console and handheld, even though the handheld version was very, very different than the console version. The story mode, I'm sure as you could guess, followed the movie of the same name. It let the players switch between Anakin and Obi-Wan as you relive various scenes throughout the film. There's 17 levels interlaced with over 12 minutes of footage from the film as cutscenes. The game received some mixed reviews whenever it released. Some people really, really loved this game for what it was. Just a fun Star Wars game that you could sit down with and relive some of your favorite moments from one of the best movies in the series. All right, moving on here, we got Transformers the game. Just a little secret here, fellas. I've never watched a Transformers movie. I'm sorry, okay? I don't know if there's huge Transformer fans out there. I was just never interested in it, okay? It just didn't seem that cool to me. I wasn't a Transformers kid, all right? Transformers released on the PS2 in 2004, and the game was received, honestly, to my surprise, pretty well. It scored a 75 out of 100 on Metacritic and a 78% on Game Rankings. Although it's non-canon to the series, the game follows a pretty similar premise. It depicts the Autobots and the Decepticons' search for the Minicons on Earth. whose combined powers will grant either faction victory in the war for their home planet Cybertron. I have no idea what any of that means. I just read all that from Wikipedia. But I guess if you're a fan of the series, the game's pretty decent, so maybe go check it out. Next, we got Mortal Kombat Deception. Mortal Kombat Deception was the 6th installment in the Mortal Kombat series and released in 2004. It picks up the storyline from the 5th installment and has 26 characters that are available to play, which is pretty crazy. The Mortal Kombat series co-creator Ed Boon designed Deception to be an unpredictable fighting game and included new features, such as the minigames as surprises. Deception has been well received by video game reviewers who praised the fights and the new features. The Conquest mode, however, received criticism for poor voice acting, but several publications called Deception the best fighting game of 2004. Something that's really cool about going through these old memory cards is that you kind of get a feel of the old owner's personality. This dude's probably like a full-ass adult now. He's probably got bills, he's probably got kids, and it's cool going back and seeing what he liked whenever he was growing up. Get a little bit of sippage here on the coffee. Anybody else a big nighttime coffee drinker? It's probably the caffeine addiction talking, but that nighttime cup of coffee just hits, man. We got Madden 06. This game was elite, man. We got Donovan McNabb on the cover. This game was great. This was probably my first Madden. I need EA to go back and study this game and study NCAA 13. They're just putting out garbage now. Maybe it's because I'm grown up now and I'm, depressed and have a full-time job, but Madden just seemed different and better in 2006. Madden 06 introduced the Superstar mode, which is basically just a career mode. You take your NFL player from his rookie year all the way through to retirement. But besides that, it's a Madden game. It has yearly releases. There's not really too much innovation year to year. But yeah, Donovan McNabb was on the cover, and the game just felt a lot better than the modern Maddens. Looks like he's got some franchises, some created teams. I gotta go buy Madden 06 so we can go check these out, see what teams he was playing as and stuff like that. That would be so cool. So we have Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4. I never got into skateboarding. I don't know how to ride one or anything like that. I was big into fingerboarding. What do you know about tech decks? I need that security footage from 2nd grade recess. Dude, I was shredding on my tech deck. If I could show you that footage, it would change you. We got some Virtua Fighter 4 Evolution replays. Virtua Fighter 4 Evolution was an updated version of Virtua Fighter 4. It released for PlayStation 2 in 2003 and introduced 2 new characters, as well as adjusting every other character that already existed in the game. The 2 new characters were Go Hinogami, I'm sure I butchered that name, and Brad Burns. All of the stages were adjusted as well, most of which were small changes. Evolution introduced some other new features as well, like improved graphics, and a new item store in quest mode, and a new currency system to go along with that. We got Pandora Tomorrow from 2014, starting to get a little bit more recent. Not really though. Holy shit, 2014 was 10 years ago? Oh no! You know what, I'm gonna be honest, this whole growing up thing kinda sucks ass. When you're a kid and you see adults, it's like, oh man, they can do whatever they want. They can have candy for dinner. They can have ice cream for dinner. They don't have to wait and have it for dessert. They can do whatever they want. Then you grow up and you realize all your time and money goes to working and bills, and you can't eat the stuff you used to because you develop a gluten allergy and your metabolism slowed down to the snail's pace, so you're starting to pack on the pounds. But anyways, we got Pandora Tomorrow. Pandora Tomorrow is a stealth game developed and published by Ubisoft. The game is the sequel to Splinter Cell and the second game in the Splinter Cell series endorsed by writer Tom Clancy. It follows the covert activities of Sam Fisher, an agent working for a Black Ops branch of the NSA called Third Echelon. The same voice actor, Michael Ironside, reprises his role as Sam Fisher. Splinter Cell Pandora Tomorrow received mostly positive reviews on release. Critics called it a strong follow-up and praised its multiplayer component, which would become a staple of the series. There was a side-scrolling adaptation for the Game Boy Advance. A remastered version of the game would release on the PlayStation 3, and it would get a sequel titled Chaos Theory in 2005. We got GTA San Andreas. The first time I ever played San Andreas was actually on my iPad. I wasn't allowed to play GTA because of, the shooting people and the doing drugs and hookers and stuff like that. But hey, I found a way around it, right? And look how I turned out. GTA San Andreas was the 7th title in the Grand Theft Auto series. It followed 2002's Vice City and was set within the fictional state of San Andreas. The game follows CJ, who returns home after his mother's murder and finds his old friends and family in disarray. Over the course of the game, he attempts to reestablish his old gang, clashes with corrupt authorities and powerful criminals, and gradually unravels the truth behind his mother's murder. I'm sure you guys need no convincing on how great this game is. It's one of the 6th generation's most significant titles, and among the best video games ever made. Coming in at 27.5 million copies sold, San Andreas solidified itself as the best-selling PlayStation 2 game of all time. We got Ratchet and Clank Going Commando from Christmas morning 2014. This dude had a great Christmas morning. Probably rushed downstairs, unwrapped Ratchet and Clank, and played it all day. Those were the best mornings growing up. It was whenever you would go down, there'd be some new games under the tree, and you just had nothing to do all day besides sit in your pajamas, eat junk food, and play some new games. Christmas morning was the best, man. Going Commando was the 2nd entry in the Ratchet and Clank series. It was developed by Insomniac Games in 2003. The game follows Ratchet and Clank, joined by newcomer Angela Cross, as they attempt to unravel a conspiracy in a new galaxy involving a mysterious pet project orchestrated by the shadowy Megacorp. The gameplay of Going Commando is largely the same as the original Ratchet and Clank. The player progresses through the story by using various weapons and gadgets to defeat enemies and solve puzzles. Going Commando was released roughly a year after the original game, and it received critical acclaim. Frequently listed as one of the best PS2 games, and most critics felt the game was superior to its predecessor. We got Call of Duty Finest Hour. Call of Duty Finest Hour was actually the first console installment of Call of Duty. Based on the original Call of Duty that was released on PC, but it has a different storyline and acts as kind of a spin-off from that game. It features 6 intertwined stories and battles based on real events from the perspective of soldiers on each side of the Allied campaign. But yeah, not much to say here, just classic Call of Duty. We got a career for Bitch Mama. Bitch Mama, if you're out there and watching this, hit me up in the comments, man. I'll send you your memory card. I got it. We got one more here. We got Rise to Honor, which honestly, I don't remember at all. I have no idea what that is. So I did a little bit of research on this game, and this is kind of a weird one. Rise to Honor is an action-adventure game that was released in 2004 and features the likeness, the voice acting, and the motion capture work of none other than Jet Li. It aims to provide a cinematic presentation designed to mimic an action film with no loading screens, and sections of the game are split up into scenes. The majority of the game is a beat 'em up, with the player using the right analog stick to direct blows at enemies. There are some levels, though, where the player uses guns, which I thought was kind of strange. The game received average reviews. It got a 68 on Metacritic, with critics saying that it's not really a game that you replay. It's more of just a story you experience. When you finish it, you stick it on the shelf and never touch it again. Just like a good book, but that doesn't mean that it's not fun to read. That's gonna wrap up our little trip down this guy's childhood. It was pretty cool looking back at all this stuff. If you guys made it this far, I really, really appreciate you guys watching. It's been so much fun interacting with you guys in the comments and seeing, you know, your memories with a lot of these games. It's really wholesome, and I enjoy it so much. So let me know if you guys have played any of these games, and if you guys have any memories with it or anything, put it down in the comments, because I read every single one, and I love hearing those stories and talking with you guys about some of these obscure and nostalgic games. But if you enjoyed this video, you'll probably like some of my other ones. This is a little bit different than what I usually do. I make a lot of videos looking back at, you know, like old nostalgic games and stuff like that. So if you like this one, go check those out. I think you might enjoy those as well. I appreciate you guys taking the time to watch. That's all I got for you guys today. Take care.